Alors, bonsoir tout le monde. Bienvenue à...
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this public regular meeting of May the 23rd, 2017. Before we begin, I wish to inform you, if you need headsets for simultaneous interpretation, they are available in the back of the room.
Translation devices, they are available at the back of the room. Alors, sans plus tarder, pour le mot d'ouverture, chers collègues.
Dear colleagues, let's have the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We have a quorum, as always. Conflict of interest, any statement, any declaration of conflict of interest? Nothing, no? The adoption of the agenda, moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Cormier, that we approve the agenda as presented. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Carried as presented. Item number 7. Presentation, bylaws, inquiries, and petition. Any questions for the regional RCMP representative? We've heard this morning that the RCMP would not be present because of previous professional assignments. However, if you have any question, I would ask you to give them to our manager, and we will make sure, of course, that the message will be given to the RCMP. No one? Nobody? Okay, fine. 7.2, presentation by an Abueto development project, especially Pointe Orenard. And we have with us Mr. Bernard Leblanc, who will make the presentation on this issue. Mr. Leblanc, if you'll come forward, please. Happy to see you again. I think that you've had a presentation that was submitted before the meeting. You have the PowerPoints. I don't know if some of you went on the Trans-Canada Trail and you saw the Sabueto. The vertige were found by Louis Leblanc, who was raised next to the stream, to the brook, the first time that he noticed them. There is a picture that we see here. Here on the right, Ranji Leblanc, who's here in the room with us tonight. There is a special crane to remove carrots. It's something that is the size of a pencil. We take some samples, have them analyzed, and it's a science called dendroprology, and it allows us to date all house within a year, more or less. Preliminary results gave us 1875 for this Abueto. It's an Abueto that is quite ancient. On the left, we saw the remains of a kind of a wall that is left, even though the remnant of this Abueto. In this case, they built in the front side of the Abueto a wall that is difficult to understand why they built it on that side and not on the riverside. Here we see a photograph on the left, the remnant of the Abueto, dated 1875. On the right is the existing Abueto. Even the existing Abueto is quite interesting. That one was built in 1947. The former one dated 1875, it was very big. It was 6 by 6 on the inside. That is very large. But later on, there was a sand quarry the trucks would go over the former Abueto, and the weight of the trucks made the original pipe collapse. We see the one here made of cement or concrete. At the end of the 1999, there were floods in the marsh. They were not floods from the river, but from the high land, maybe because of the melting of snow or high water. So the pipe was not enough. We had to put a second one. I don't know any other Abueto with two levels anywhere in Atlantic Canada. We have an interesting situation. We have the remnant of a pipe with a modern one compared to one beside the other. This is an aerial view that was, first of all, is remnant of the 1875 one. Secondly, it's the present Abueto, and number three is the Trans-Canada. This is fantastic. It's fantastic. We have a trail right beside a former Abueto and a modern one, which is exceptional in nature. Just on top of these three figures, it's a former marsh, a dig marsh that I will explain to you. It dated back before the expulsion of the Acadian, so it's the third edition of acid. It's very fantastic. This is a plan that was prepared by the company that made the draft, the quote, the design for the place that we intend to have an observation site. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 4 is this site where the platform would be. And we see from this proposed tower, we see a design of the tower in question with a second floor. It allows us to better see the river. That is, at some distance from the pipe, we would have a good view of the river before the expulsion. Here we have two aerial views. One on the left dates 1945, and we see the 1875 pipe that was always there, still there. That's the one that was collapsed by the truck. In 1947, we built the present one. On the left, we have an even older picture, one of 1928, even older. We have an acreage of the Ruisseau del Nord, and shows the Abueto of 1875. The red arrow points in the direction of the Abueto, and we see Pointe à la Dalle of the Abueto. And what is very curious is when we saw the remnants on both sides of the stream, they did not align. We said, oh, maybe there were two former Abueto, one that would be as old as 1875. When we saw this plan, we noticed there is a curve in the Abueto. This is curious in nature. It seems like it doesn't make sense. We put in more efforts. If you press somewhat, you make an Abueto in a straight line rather than a curved one. There is a detail of the surveyor of it that was surveyed through 1976. It started, which is to the Plage Blanc, up to the Ruisseau del Nord. I colored in yellow a marsh that was dug. It goes right beside the Ruisseau del Nord. 1886, there was still no inhabitants living there. So this proves that this dug marsh would date before the expulsion of the Acadians. So it's quite fantastic. Another surveying plan from the same year. The red arrow points to the wall that we have an aerial view of 1945. We see almost for sure it's the same piece of land that is there. It would be nice to make some survey of some research to try and find the former pieces. On the left, we have a map of 1878, the Scott map, as it was called. It's a map that was used when the English went up the Petitcodiac River to burn the houses. We indicated the Acadian village with the name of the villages and what is another coincidence. The map is deformed in some places and the name of villages. We tried to interpret that. Of course, the map was made by an English, but based on the French name, it's hard to locate them. So at Ruisseau del Nord, it says river at Fox Point. So, of course, we talk about Ruisseau del Nord, Fox River, Brook. And we notice also a detail on the right, if you see. On top of the Ruisseau del Nord, there's a house called Amoral or Amirai Village. It would be an Acadian village associated with the Antidig village. We have the proof, the evidence, that there was an Acadian village right beside that area. Here on the left, we have a photograph, LiDAR, as we call it. It's an aerial photograph. That is a fantastic tool. It eliminates vegetation, allow us to see all the small differences with the lands. If some ditches were dug, and today with a Google pillar photograph, we wouldn't see those details. So it would be extremely interesting to have a LiDAR photograph of that region, because the dug area on the right, the photograph dates back to 1945. There's yellow arrow, dates to before the expulsion, but on the other side, on top of the trail that crosses, we see a small brook. So it's almost certain that there were small pipes, maybe some logs that were opened up with planks on top to allow the water to flow out. The ruins that we see of the Bueto of 1875 on the left-hand picture, the picture on the right explains what are these details. The Bueto is the part that crosses over the water, and the part is strengthened by some woods that are laid down, and they alternate with some ground, with some soils. So these lots are old in age. Also, here it shows the different the digs on the right, the left, and one that is in a log. This is a picture of a former widow. It doesn't exist today in the Beaumont area, and we see beside it some kind of wall with vertical piece of wood. This is another one. It's somewhere in New Brunswick. I'm not sure where. I was the inspection, but we see the size of this one. It was approximately 6 feet tall. So the one from 1947 had that height and the same width. This is a former photograph of Chimigui, New Brunswick, dated 1870. It was work done with horses and with shovel, pick and shovel. What we see here is certainly the same thing that we would have seen in Fox Creek 5 years later. This is a kind of weird abueto in Grand Pré. We see a load of hay that goes on top of the abueto. This is probably the same one. It's probably someone who had experience in the abueto with the arrival of the English. And here you have a kind of abueto that is surrounded by ground. It did not resist the ground very well. So that is the presentation. Thank you. Question from the public, from the council first, sorry. No question. Question from the public. Monsieur Alain? Thank you very much for the presentation, Mr. LeBlanc. What is the deadline that you foresee to receive funds to complete the interpretation center? Mr. Bijou? Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. First of all, we will be bringing this item back on the agenda later on during the night. We present a scenario to get the funds in the budget. We propose to suspend the project, but to go forward with this one, to set aside the other project. And Mr. LeBlanc said this is a jewel, and it could be taken advantage by the whole population. What we'll be asking tonight is to go forward, to go ahead, permission to go forward with proposals for the project, and we'll come back to the council later on with a final price. We had an estimate of the cost that was included in the memorandum, but we want to go forward with a bid. Your Worship, if I may, I want to thank the volunteers who are here tonight. It's a group of volunteers. They're LeBlanc, Louis E. LeBlanc, is the gentleman, Louis LeBlanc, who brought us the project. I think he met the Deputy Mayor Ernest Thibodeau in August. And Ronnie Gilles LeBlanc, he worked in Grand Pré, Nova Scotia. He knows the Boteau very well. He worked with a great resource and our history, Mr. Bernard LeBlanc. There was myself and Jason Nadeau, who were members of the committee. We met on several occasions. I can tell you, it was an enriching experience. It's an important part of our heritage, and we believe it's important to do it as quickly as possible because it's supplementary to the Eduardo House. It's important for the project. Maybe it says more than what you wanted to know, Mr. Eda. No. It's genial to have all the LeBlancs here. At the end of the day, coming from an ally, it's really interesting. But there is a patrimonial components that I got to appreciate during presidency, all the Acadian villages along the river, and I hope it will become more than an interpretation center. We will be able to have a video that will explain, that will bring us, I think we'll find some revelation, but it's a nice project. Thank you. Other questions? Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. Well, it's not really a question. It's a thank you for your presentation. I want to thank the employees and the members of the committee who worked on it to pursue the project with Mr. LeBlanc. When he talked to me and we went to see the remnant, I said, we have to valorize all of this because it's part and parcel of our Acadian heritage, and I think it's a nice project for the city of Dieppe because in the city of Dieppe, there have been some all along the river. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. Would it be accessible through other means than through the trail, or is there only accessibility through the trail? You can't ask better than that. Really, it's right in the heart of the marsh. Otherwise, we'd have to go through environmental study. It's like a dream. You see the remnants of the old highway, the new highway, and the marsh after the exposure. It's not an objection, but I say that some people might want to visit it if they would reduce sites with the trail. There's parking at the end of, what's the street? Puerto Real. It's not parking, but people can park there and take the trail. But from that parking to Dieppe, it's a few hundred meters. It's like 5-10 minutes to walk it. It's such a nice jewel that we should not stop anyone from seeing it. I want to add with the Eduardo House that is on the agenda tonight with the program of Eduardo House. It's part of our heritage. Maybe there is a cooperation as for the visit and for those who have reduced mobility. Maybe we can do something about it. There's some options available. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Councillor Good. Thank you, Your Worship. The projects remind me of a project that we discussed a long time ago. The development of that area to have access to the Penigodiac River to see the Boar, the tidal bore. And I think it's Councillor Jean Cadet who worked on that file with some other people to try and find an access from a parking that would be installed around Fox Creek on the lower part, and an extension that would go directly to the river going through that place. Is it still something that is being planned? Is it part of that? Both could be integrated. They could be. We talk about the same projects, I'm sure. At that time, it was questioned that said if Dieppe could buy the piece of land, it was for sale. We went at the end of that parcel of land, and we saw the most important part of the river. When you see the river in that direction, well, I brought 2 persons last summer to see the marsh from, to see the tidal bore is right at the bottom of it. It would be interesting if there was a mean to purchase a part of that land. Cannot be developed for anything else. Once it's developed, try to buy it. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, forget it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cadet. Thank you, Mr. Leblanc, for the presentation. I don't see any other questions from the members of council, but sometimes they go fast, as was the case earlier. Thank you once again. I'm convinced we will wait for the recommendations from the members of the administration who are working with you. Thank you for that efforts. As Councillor Godet said so well, it's an area that is close to our heart and was forgotten during the last decade. And I'm happy to see the discoveries that you have made. And we hope you will succeed. Thank you very much. Next item, public hearing, permanent street closure of the Dieppe portion of the Dieppe Boulevard. This, you will explain everything to us, the confusion and everything. Mr. Fredette, the floor is yours. Your Worship, in fact, the Municipalities Act, we talk about the permanent closure of portion of the Dieppe Boulevard, but I'll explain more. We don't talk about the closure of the Dieppe, but part of the entrance to the Dieppe Boulevard. So, not the number of identification. The portion is 7041637. And you'll see a lot that is 17A, the number, the parcel number. What is the parcel in question? It's the rectangle in red, do you see, for the localization and such. There's the Dieppe Boulevard. Dieppe Boulevard. It's across from Nathalie Street. Rue du Golf on the north and André Street on the south. So, if I may ask, as you know, as I explained, there won't be any closure of the boulevard. You can see the asphalt part of the boulevard, and we have the sidewalk. It's really the part that had some lawn and some soil. There was some necessary work at the time of building the boulevard, so the owner was asked to give more sites, and today they asked to be able to take back the space in question. So with the engineering service, we came to the conclusion there was a possibility of making a request for the closure of a street. So the subdivision plan is parcel 17A, located right here. And the portion as such is 80 meters by 20 meters. The reason for this request, as I said, was to acquire some land, and the acquisition of land would allow us to make a multifamily dwellings, a 5-story apartment with a total of 60 units. You see the parcels would be for a portion of the building, but also the balance would be for a parking in the front. The municipality would keep a right-of-way in case there should be some work to be done, because there's a culvert in the corner of the golf course. And here on the side, it shows there's a possibility of phase 2. On the south side, a 5-story building for a total of 60 units again. So the next steps are, we had on May the 8th the date to have the public hearing tonight. At the end, if it's the wish of the council to go forward with the process of street closure, the council can do both first, second reading, and the June meeting, it can be read fully. So, Your Worship, this completes my presentation. I'm ready to answer your question if there is. Question from the councillors. Councillor Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. The entrance to the complex would be via the boulevard? Absolutely. True, Natalie? Yes, you're right. I thought we had adopted a bylaw that prohibited the access on the boulevard. Yes, there must not be creation of any other access on the interval of 200 meters, but what has been pre-approved before the bylaw was adopted was allowed to develop itself. Such was the case across from Italy, was analyzed internally with the engineering service, and the connection is made across from Natalie, and with the fire department we decided that the entrance would be safe. That's the new access. Or was it the access? No, it's an access that it was presented at the time. I was wondering if it was a new one. Well, if it's one that was already there, it's different. Thank you. Councillor Gadet, thank you, Your Worship. I have a question for the future. The piece of land that is on the eastern side is across from Natalie. I assume there has been discussion there would be another apartment block built on that piece of land. If it is done, will there be another application to reduce the amount or the quantity that is captured in that triangle, or should we not do it all at the same time? The request from the developer was for tonight, specifically for tonight. So it's a hypothesis to foresee what will be a demand, but it's also safe for the council to wait for a concrete project on the table before this. If it's the intention of giving land again, we can give land away. That maybe they would not have to give everything. So tonight's request was made for that purpose only. Thank you. Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. I saw that it was announced in the newspaper, but I want to know, did we receive any objections? We received no objection. Thank you very much. That answers my question.
Thank you. So if there are no other questions, the questions from the public. It seems not. So thank you for the presentation. We go to the next item 7.4, public hearing on another rezoning project on Champlain Street. Monsieur Frenette. So the second public hearing tonight is for rezoning. We had the public presentation. On the 10th of April. So the procedure is a public presentation. We'll be describing the project as such. We'll be talking about the regulation, current, and the changes for the zonings. And then we'll be talking about the next steps. And then if there are any questions, comments from the public or members of council, we can answer. So a timeline, as you know, like I just said, the 10th of April, there was a public presentation. Tonight is the public hearing. The next one will be the recommendations from the PAC, and then on the 10th of July there will be the decision from council to proceed or not. The project as such, the owner is Gestion Gilles Gauguin Inc. The agent is Cordova Realty. The PID is 006744416. And the site is on the north side of Champlain Street. You have a site map of the project, more in detail. Bounty Foods, Mathieu Martin School, and then the project as such is around here. There's another site map for the, because there's a water course. It's been piped and under the authorization of Environment Department, but this project as such is outside of the zone. Land use, there's a map that shows in red, in yellow, and in violet the different uses in the sector. In red, it's the commercial use. In yellow, it's the residences. And in purple is the industrial use that's close to the lot in a radius of 100 meters. There's also a IBM picture. Gives you the idea of the site and where it's situated, and the idea is to build a service station on the site. There's a description of the building, what it could look like. There's also a site plan of the lot. As far as the regulation and the changes, the land, the generalized land use map, we're requesting to go from commercial to industrial. And the zoning map would be a request to go from a secondary business commercial to industrial park. So the next steps after tonight, like I mentioned, the 21st of June, there'll be a meeting of the Planning Advisory Council Committee for recommendations to Council. And the 10th of July, there'll be a decision from this Council here to proceed or not. Thank you. So questions from members of Council? Monsieur Alain, when you see the PID, the lot, the development, is the only thing that he can do with the land, with the PID? No, the request of the owner is that they're going to keep the balance of the lot, and there'll be development following the request for the square. So there'll still be possibility of development for the rest of the lot. Thank you. I think there was another light that was on. No other questions from members of council? Are there any questions from members of the public on this rezoning application? No, if not, thank you once again. And now we go to 7.5, public hearing, review project of bylaw Z9, municipal development plan and zoning bylaw Z10. So the last public hearing tonight is concerning amendments to the municipal development plan and zoning. It's following the public hearing was to amalgamate territory following the annexation of territory. So the plan of the presentation will be coming back to the application for annexion of territory. Amendments proposed for the municipal development plan and zoning bylaw. There'll be a couple of corrections, some additions to both bylaws to facilitate the interpretation of the document, or at least to be able to help some understanding of the properties within the municipality. A little history. 9th of September 2013, there was a resolution by council, the former council, to request to the local government department to annex a part of an uninhabited sector to the west of the administrative list, to the east. The 1st of June 2016, there was the approval of the department of the province that gave the right to the municipality to acquire the territory in question. Description of the territory, of the land, it's localized at the northeast limit, and it includes the LSDs of Moncton, Shediac, Cape Screwloop parishes. Total surface of 25.6 square kilometers, of which 20 square kilometers are potentially developable. Because we've acquired land, the land had a specific zoning and there are two bylaws, rural and ministerial, where there was zoning on the land. The land until the 1st of June was under the Regional Commission, Southeast Regional Commission. So tonight, and this is where it's important for us to have a different map, but have a specific zoning of the city of Dieppe. So we have an example of what the zoning was, or zoning permitted right now. Zone A, agriculture, and zone rural. But what we are suggesting is a land reserve to basically limit some type of developments to maintain the land in the future. And it doesn't take away the fact that if we do have specific project for a specific site on the land, the council could study under Article 39 and 72 of the Planning Act. So we're agriculture, forest, and billboards, and under Article 39 of the land use to have extractions, quarries, and also a place where you can load snow. Also, for the development within that land, we would be adding certain principles, suggestions in the municipal plan. We would be monitoring the non-traditional, non-conventional development. We realized that there was some development that is good that we would want to see within the municipalities, but there are also requests that are not as desirable, and we want to make sure that we have specific aspects in the municipal plan and in the zoning bylaws. So we also want to recommend to recognize the Dover Street sector, which is the portion more to the south, and we want to make sure that we consider the semi-rural context. In the former bylaws, there were hobby farms, but there was no specific application as to the number of animals permitted in these activities. So we would be suggesting here certain figures to limit numbers so that they be considered thereafter as commercial farms. There were also in the past people who wanted to find out if there was land available for camping sites. We had nothing, but a little bit as is suggested in the land reserve is if we have a request, it would be brought to council for camping sites. The zoning map would be the same thing. We've clarified certain applications, English and French. We realized that there wasn't always the same meaning in one language and another, and we also wanted to make sure that it was possible to clarify certain definitions that would make interpretation more easy, especially for people who come to see us with requests. Another addition to the zone would be the pool fences. A lot of people went to see us. They don't necessarily want to have wooden fences, so they're asking the possibility of having metal mesh fences. Right now, our zoning bylaw permits mesh with 1.5 inches. Recommendation would be to go to 2 inches. Moncton and Riverview allow up to meshes of up to 2 inches that in which you can pass these strips of plastic. Also in the land reserve in the northeast, we're talking about sizes of setbacks and things like that. There are 2 zones in the municipality where there's use that is residential or in another sector, industrial, that won't be able to be expanded because industrial zoning prohibits this. These are non-conforming zonings with the changes to the bylaws. So we recognize that there are certain sectors, for example, on Amiro Street in the Fox Creek sector, going towards Dover, there are lands, there's single-family residences. It's always been that way. And the zoning is highway commercial, so they cannot expand. So our suggestion would be the same thing with the IG zone, to recognize that there are certain acquired rights that they can make improvements, and they can also have additions by making their buildings bigger, but we would not permit new buildings but we do recognize that what is there can be added to and made bigger. And it's the same thing with Arsenault Road, because there are certain industrial parks there. Another suggested amendment, we have the example of the Arsenault to land use, but also to the bylaw zoning map. The lands are for our two arenas are zoned park, but when we look at the use, it's really one building, an arena. So we're suggesting that we could rezone it or zone the lands to institutional as opposed to zoning it park. So in permitting institutional rather than park, it gives us more possibility of development to different other developments that would be complementary to the arenas. So that's it for my third presentation. Thank you, Mr. Frenette. Questions from members of council? So in this revision, we received correspondence that's something that should be read into the minutes. It comes from the Canada Council of Nature Conservation. Mr. Mayor, members of council, members of staff, you live in a very special place. You're in growth, and it's in the Chignetou Isthme. It's known internationally, our organization of conservation of nature. For us, the region is a priority because of its importance for wildlife. CNC is an national organization of conservation. It's non-profit that has offices in Fredericton and that works for the protection of habitats by acquiring or accepting donations. Up to now, we've conserved more than 3,000 acres on the Isthme of Chignetou. By this letter, we would like to underscore certain natural characteristics of the region, as well as some advantages for your city in the state of conservation for wildlife in the municipal. The Isthme of Chignetou that separates the Bay of Fundy and the Northumberland Straits, and that reunites, or that unites Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. You see the map. We've identified this site as a priority in North America for the protection and the improvement of the natural spaces and of the landscape. This is defined by the ease with which animals can move between different places where they have to go to find food, to reproduce, to pass winter, or satisfy other needs. The importance of the ecological area has been confirmed by the Premier of New-Brunswick, Brian Gallant, as well as by the heads of provincial and government states neighboring. In 2016, the governors of New England and the premiers of the East of Canada adopted the resolution 40-3 resolution concerning the ecological areas, adaptation to climate change, and conservation of biodiversity. The text of this edition is in appendix. With the annexation of the lands north of Dieppe, you have the responsibility to use a land that is wider of the wildlife corridor of Chignetou. The zone between Dieppe and Shediac constitutes the narrowest part of the isthme. That's where development is the quickest and that is advancing more quickly. So Resolution 40-3 recognizes the importance of thoughtful practices of use of the territory to ensure the maintenance of the ecological state. We have to consider the moving of the wildlife, forests, and that has to be adequate. This is an approach that has to be done with the municipalities, and the responsible of the municipal areas said that the protection of the hydrographic areas are important for the wildlife to protect wildlife and to make sure that there is drinking water to the municipality. Conservation of the organization has had much experience in conservation. Staying Connected initiative, the staff is participating in frontier work in Canada and in the United States. There's an innovative project with New-Brunswick to set up tourist activities for viewing birds. We would be happy to work with the city of Dieppe to contribute to the best development of the land for the municipalities and for the wildlife. We'd like to meet you as soon as possible to discuss possibilities to work together. We want to save as much space as possible for wildlife and to have something that would be attractive and healthy. Sincerely, the Program Director for Nature Conservation Canada. Thank you, Monsieur Melançon. I think that we have a representative here. I don't know if she would like to talk to us, to identify herself. Thank you very much. Just want to say that Denise Leroy with Nature Conservation of Canada, a representative in conservation that works directly under Paulo Noel, who sent you the letter. That's it. No other comment for you? No, I think that the letter pretty clear. I'm available to answer questions if there are any, if I can also. But we'd like to have a presentation, maybe in the future, to Council, just once again to underscore the ecological importance of the land that you are putting in new zoning. So are there any questions from members of Council? No? So, thank you very much. So there will be we'll be communicating with you on this subject. And I know that on communication, there's an actress in the region that is talking about the question of the Isthmus of Chignecto. Well, yeah, you probably have heard about this over the last couple of years. It's a little bit embarrassing. It's a moose sex project. Yes, it's with the partnership with Nature Conservation Canada. You'll probably recognize their name, Nature Conservancy Canada. Nick Payne prepared with the Fundy Biosphere some type of documentary that talks about the importance of ecology of the region. Yeah, it's probably on YouTube. I've seen it live, but you can go check it out on YouTube. So where we invite moose from New-Brunswick to go to Nova Scotia to help in repopulating the species in Nova Scotia. Yeah, it should be in a couple of weeks. So if there are no questions, that's all for presentations. Thank you, Monsieur Frenette. Questions by members of the public. That's a different subject altogether. No questions from the public? So we go to item 9, which is the adoption of minutes. In this case, specifically of the regular council meeting held on May 8th, last. Moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Leblanc. All those in favor? Are there any questions on the minutes? If not, all those in favor of the resolution to approve the regular council meeting held on May 8th, signify by saying aye, contrary-minded nay. So it is carried. Now we continue with item 10.1.1. Monsieur Melançon, the first subject. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. You have before you an agreement that was arranged with the market of Dieppe for the management of transient traders on a portion of the parking lot at Dieppe. At the last meeting, there had been suggestions maybe to accommodate over a period of a week. The Article 2.16C permits it for the summer period. So we figure that we've answered the questions of council, and the council is in agreement to have transient traders 7 days a week over the summer. So this is authorization for the signing authority. Thank you. For the reading of the resolution, maybe Councillor Godet. If you want to move closer to the mic, please. That council authorize the municipal signing officers to sign the management agreement between the City of Dieppe and the Cooperative Horticole de la Récolte de Chez Nous Limité regarding the management of transient traders on a portion of the parking lot on property situated at 301 Acadie Avenue, PID 70442470, and at 232 Gauvin Road, PID 70442413. So moved. Moved by Councillor Godet, seconded by Councillor Cormier on the question. Conseiller Leblanc. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it was mentioned that there would be 17 Yeah, we estimate between 13 and 17 parking spots. My only concern is that the parking spots that are in front of the building, is not only for special needs, are we going to be moving them somewhere else closer to the door? The answer is yes. When we look at the map at page 87, we see the space that it's going to take where we'll be permitting transient traders. Just above that, we see the yellow roofs. At that place, there's a parking for reduced mobility people, and that's going to be transformed into parking spots for mobility reduced people. There's also on the corner of Gauvin and the Marché Street, those spots are going to be changed according to Monsieur Paul-Émile Doucet. It's a good improvement according to him. I thought you had looked into it. I just wanted to make sure that there was enough for handicap parking. Thank you, Monsieur Leblanc. Any other questions? If there are no other questions, all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Carried as presented. 10.1.2, election of deputy mayor. As the bylaw, procedural bylaw of the Municipal Council of the City of Montreal, we have to elect a deputy mayor. So now we've chosen, and it's for your approval tonight. For the reading of the resolution, Monsieur former deputy mayor doesn't seem to be as happy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pursuant to bylaw number A-4, 2015, entitled Procedural Bylaw of the Municipal Council of the City of Dieppe, that council elect Ted Godet as deputy mayor for a term ending May 28th, 2018. So moved, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Alain. On the question. On the question, Monsieur Alain. First of all, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just want to thank Monsieur Thibodeau for having held the position for the previous year. I have to say that I've been councillor for a year, so I have a better appreciation of what the people around the table here do. And I know that you were a good team, the mayor and deputy mayor. So thank you very much.
D'énergie.
You've saved me a lot of energy, so I just want to say thank you. So now we have to vote. We haven't voted yet. Don't look so excited, though. All those in favor of the resolution say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Abstention, no. Carried. Mr. Godet, congratulations. You're the new deputy mayor. And good luck. .2.1, Mr. Melanson. With the restoration of the Duaron Heritage House, we're here to make a tender award for general contractor for a maximum amount of $64,000 for several elements of the restoration of the house. Following a tender call, we've received one proposal only, but the evaluation shows clearly that it is a fantastic job, and RAS Contracting meets all the requirements, so we recommend to proceed with this contract. Thank you for the reading of the resolution, Mr. Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship, that Council awards the tender for general contracting services for the restoration of the Duaron Heritage House to Rice Contracting Limited, a maximum amount of $640,000 plus HST, and authorizes the expenditures be taken from account number 3-30-30-12-7605, General Capital Budget, Duaron House Restoration. I so move. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Arsenault. On a question, Mr. Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. Could you tell me in more details what are the responsibilities for race contracting? Who wants to answer? Mr. Cobo? Come forward. Thank you, Your Worship. Well, as for the project itself, we need a general contractor to manage the whole restoration of the house. So their responsibility will be for the next 2 years. The management, they will have a team on location and to demolish what is in existence in the next 2 years, to supervise and to go to the roof and the inside, all the finishing work, the building, whether it's plumbing, electricity, almost every element that has to do with the building, they'll be able to manage or to contract out for the management, and the city and an architect will also be involved in the project. So the cost does not include the work per se. Well, it's for the cost on the house. What happens is that the cost includes manpower and all the materials, whether it's materials or a subcontractor, everything that has to do with the restoration of the house. So it doesn't change anything. In the budget, we have an amount up to $640,000 for restoration. So it means manpower, equipment, materials. So we'll be able to manage our projects to be within these amounts, because the plans are still being developed. They'll be finalized within the next few weeks. So we need a general contractor to know what is behind the existing walls, to be able to better complete the plans. It will allow us to better manage the plan in this manner. I just want to follow up to the question from the councillor. That portion is not necessarily the total work that will be done there. I think maybe that was your question, if it was the difference between the amount of money that is budgeted of 640 or 70,000 and the total amount. Well, it was somewhat. It was general contractor. I didn't know if it was there only to manage the job, the manpower and everything. Okay, thank you. Sheila, thank you, Your Worship. Similar to the mayor question, we have some expenses on the house. The only thing I don't understand, the project will last 2 years. Will the project be completed in 2 years? Those are our plans to finish within 2 years. There's a statement in the document that says that some works will be done this year, and during the winter we'll work inside the building. So we should be able to do the finishing work next year until the fall. Well, when we visited with Mrs. Cormier, we were talking about the barn / garage. Is that part and parcel of the house? Yes, it's included in the project. It's included in the amounts that we are voting on. Thank you. So, to go on with this, essentially it means in the spring or of 2019, the house will be open to the public. Well, we don't have an exact, you say 2 years, so essentially spring, summer 2019, that's 2 years. Yes. With the Acadian Congress, we would like to have that house finished. Yes. I just wanted to hear yes. I was there. I said yes. You all understood? Thank you, Mr. Cobo. If there's no further question. Okay, thank you. Did you vote on this? Let's vote, of course. All those in favor of the resolution as presented, say aye. Contrary minded, say nay. Carried. It unanimous. 10.3.1. The Culture Leisure Abueto Development Project. You all heard and understood the project that was presented tonight. So tonight we're asking a guideline to be able to proceed to call for tenders. It was not planned in the 2017 budget. We made a selection of a project that will be set back to next year, to postpone, to be able to realize this Abueto, the observation tower. We want to have the guidelines to proceed to the tender award. Mrs. Alcino, for the reading, that the council agrees to proceed with the call for tenders pertaining to the construction of a lookout tower at the of the water development projects. Move and seconded on the question. No question. All those in favor of the resolution say aye. Contrary minded say nay. Carried unanimously. Next item, 10.3.2. Directive ratification. The council gave a directive to the staff to have to add to the BNP philanthropic performance. $100,000 was added to the contract. We want to make public this guideline that was given during cameras to make it public. Thank you for the reading of the resolution. Councillor Brido. Thank you, Your Worship. Council advises the contract extension with the firm BNP philanthropic performance for the intergenerational community project. That the objective of the campaign fixed at $4,500,000 be reached to the additional cost of $100,000 plus HST, and further authorizes to be defrayed from account 1-2-70-70-2585 general operating budget IGCC professional service. I so move. So moved by Councillor Brido, seconded by Councillor Gadet. On the question? On the question, Councillor Erna. Thank you, Your Worship. So, Mr. Manager, just to clarify matters, for the 4.5 million, it will cost, what is the final figure? Councillor, Your Worship, if I remember well, I look at the deputy treasurer's up 485,000, including a coordination position for the campaign. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, of those in favor, say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Carried. Next item, 10.3.3, tender award consulting services once again within the intergenerational community complex to meet the deadline established by the staff. We have the permission to retain services of BC2 CBCD to prepare the tender documents at the amount of $28,500 plus HST. Everything will be prepared from our file, and the tender award will only be granted once we have all the information from the financial partners received by the City of Dieppe. Thank you, sir. Mr. Melanson, to read the resolution. Mr. Ville, please. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council awards the contract for the procuration of the tender documents intergenerational community complex in Dieppe to BC2 and GCB2, and that will be defrayed from accounts 3-3-30-12-7604 general budget. New ice surface move and seconded by Councillor on the question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Resolution is carried as presented. 10.4. 10.4.1 Engineering Directive Ratification once again. That was given in camera for road repair, asphalt management program with all the improvement work that exists in Dieppe, the improvement on the Boulevard Dieppe and Harrisville Boulevard and Highway 15 with the work that will be done. We thought it was wise to redo the surface of Boulevard Dieppe between Hardnet Street and the other side of Charlottesville. So the front of Jean Coutu, and to push back La Voie files to next year to allow to improve the traffic when the work will be heavier next year on Harrisville and the Boulevard. It's a strategy to better manage and to improve the traffic the best we can from the information that we have today. For the reading, Councillor Cormier, please. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council accepts the revised 2017 road work priorities for the asphalt management program proposed by the Engineering Department. Its memorandum dated April 27, 2017. I so move. Moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Arsenault. No on the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Carried as presented. 10.4.2. Mr. Melanson, please. Here again, we adopted during previous meeting the engineering in the building of Gauvin Road between Bradard and the future College Street to better position the project. So an amount of engineering services said $220,000 in total. The resolution during the last meeting said $180,000, so an adjustment of $40,000 is necessary to retain the service of WSP Canada Incorporated. So it's to make the change to adopt the last resolution with this one. Councillor Allen, to read it, please. Thank you. That Council authorizes an additional amount of $40,000 plus HSP to WSP Canada Inc. for engineering services related to the project entitled Gova Road Infrastructure for a total of $220,000 plus HST, and also that it be drawn from 3-3-35-6574, the general capital budget, and from account number 4-3-90-58-7634, water and sewer capital budget, Gova Road reconstruction. I so move. Moved by Councilor Laila, seconded by Councilor Godet. On the question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded nay. Carried as presented. Next item, 10.5.1, nomination. So, within the meeting of the Greater Moncton Chamber of Commerce, the City of Dieppe has a representative on the board. Tonight, it's to appoint for 1-year term Councilor Ted Godet as Dieppe representative for the reading of the resolution. Mr. Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. That council appoints Councilor Ted Godet on the board of directors of the Greater Moncton Chamber of Commerce for a 1-year term ending May 31st, 2018. I so move. Moved by Councilor Thibodeau, seconded by Councilor Asano. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded nay. So the appointment of Mr. Godet, who just filled his last day of vacation with the Great Chamber. Thank you for having accepted all these responsibilities tonight for the next vote. Sorry. 10.6.1, Planning and Development Biomass Project Study Components AFM and B. The Francophone Municipalities of New-Brunswick is offering a biomass project study component that goes very well towards our sustainable plan of the municipality. We identified 2 buildings as focus buildings at a cost of $1,000 per building. So we recommend to authorize a contribution of $2,000, and that should be a return on our investment. Later on, we'll let the study do its work and recommend makes a recommendation following the study. Mr. Hala, to read the resolution. The council agrees and participant in the FNB that the Generation Center and Aquatic and Sports Center be the component of these. The council authorizes $2,000 to AFMNB pursuant to the conditions established in the contract that will be concluded for this purpose, and also authorizes that these expenditures be defrayed from account 1-2-53-12-2836 general opening budget sustainable development plan. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councilor Ala, seconded by Councilor Brito. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded nay. Resolution is adopted. I have to leave. I did not notice earlier, but potentially have a conflict of interest on item 10.6.2. So, as the last responsibility as Deputy Mayor tonight, Mr. Thibodeau, please, will you replace me? So it's to repeal resolution infraction zoning 9648, corner of Burke and Melanson Roads. Mike. Deputy Mayor, this file, in October 2004, there was an infraction for a building, the corner of Burke and Mountain Road. The staff proceeded with the notice and the correspondence identifying the offense, and the Department of Environment today confirmed that the offense was not registered by them and the procedure had been followed. It's to the 30 meters from the brook. When the Department of Environment gave its agreement, we're at ease with withdrawing that offense and to classify this as closed. Thank you, Mr. Manasseh. For the reading, Councillor Arsenault. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. That Council accepts that resolution entitled Offense 76-48, property at the corner of Burke and Melanson, PID 70307-327, adopted at the public meeting held on October the 12th, 2004, be repealed on the condition that the work be conform to the property with the New-Brunswick Clean Water Act. I so move. Moved by Councillor Arsenault, seconded by Councillor Cormier. Any question? No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Carried unanimously. Would someone go and get the mayor, please? I will continue. Still have a quorum? Yes. Set date public hearing for the condition amendment request zoning bylaw Z-10-1 line situated between Sunset and Santa Therese. Once again, Deputy Mayor, the land located at the corner of Sunset and Santa Therese Street. We've had a request to amend part of Z-10-1. It is to say to add other apartment within the apartment block that is under construction. I want to say that we don't change the physical size of the building per se. It's a redevelopment as to the unit. It would go from 155 that was authorized to 162. So we are asking to fix a public hearing date that will be established on June the 12th at 7 o'clock here to consider the amendment and the proposal that had been recommended at that time. We would ask notice to the advisory committee, planning committee, to give their opinion. Mr. Breeder to read it. Deputy Mayor, the Council accepts to hold a public hearing on June the 12th, 2017 at 7 p.m. at the Dieppe City Hall to hear the objections. One of the conditions adopted with zoning bylaw Z-10-1, registered in the registry office to number 3613-3255 on July the 18th, 2016, relating to the following PID 0066936, number 704-87533, number 00668483, and number 00668194, and number 00669051, number 000659036, number 00987933, and number 00987917, situated between Sunset and Santa Therese Streets. That Council requests for written views of the Planning Advisory Committee and extends the deadline pursuant to the Community Planning Act of June 21st, 2017. I so move. Moved by Councilor Brideau, seconded by Councilor Leblanc. Any question? No question. All those in favor, say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried. Your Worship, you want to come back? I was going to let you go to the end, Mr. Divido, but we are now at 1071. Tender award of purchase of mobile asphalt recycle following tender. We have only one bid that was presented. It is meant to increase the possibility of building asphalt machinery. We want to purchase it, so we recommend to proceed with the purchase with SMT Solution Inc. The amount of $129,000 plus HST. You have the account that are identified in the resolution. And once again, it's to offer plan and a better service when we need to repair asphalt for the forthcoming winter. To read the resolution, Councillor Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship, that Council awards the contract to the purchase of a mobile asphalt recycled to Public Works construction. The amount of $129,897 HSD and authorizes expenditures to be defrayed from the following accounts: 50% water, account number 4-3-90-12-7900, water and sewer capital budget, equipment purchase, 50% sewer, account number 4-3-95-12-7900, water and sewer capital budget, equipment purchase. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councilor Leblanc, seconded by Councilor Arsenault. On the question, Monsieur Alain. A simple question. I see in the service note we were renting this kind of equipment previously. Now we're purchasing it. Did something change? Can somebody answer me that? Mr. Saint-Just can add, but if I understand correctly, we use a kind of machine for one winter. We evaluated its performance and it added to the quality of repair of asphalt. And we had another small piece of equipment that needed to heat the asphalt 6 to 8 hours before we used it, and afterwards we recommended to purchase it. It's a new piece of equipment, yes. Mr. Arsenault, thank you, Your Worship. What is the lifespan of that machine? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Well, I'm not special. Good evening, Your Worship. One of the reasons to purchase it, so we were renting $20,000 per year, and that piece will last over 15 years. So after 7 years. Thank you. No further question. All those in favor of the resolution say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried.
So now we go to the reading of bylaws. Bylaw number C21. This is a first and second reading by title only. Monsieur Thibodeau, thank you. By title only. Let's close a portion of Dieppe Boulevard. A bylaw authorizing the city of Dieppe to permanently close a portion of Dieppe Boulevard. So moved. Bylaw number C21. So moved in first reading by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Cormier. On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. So the change to bylaw C21 is moved first reading. Second reading by title only, Mr. Thibodeau. Thank you. Bylaw number C-21, a bylaw authorizing the City of Dieppe to permanently close a portion of Dieppe Boulevard. So moved. Second reading by title only. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Cormier. On the question, all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The bylaw is adopted. Second reading by title only. I will continue the other steps in a couple of weeks. Now for item 12, notice of motion. No notices of motion tonight. So inquiries and announcements by members of council. And we start with Councillor Godet tonight. Just a second. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no announcements, but I have a question, a request. Would it be possible to reconsider on Acadie Road, just at the Vanier Street? It's a two-way that forms into one way. Right now, all the lines have disappeared, and I see that there's going to be some repairs. And in the meantime, I'd like to see if Public Works could maybe consider putting in a couple of lines just for safety reasons. Because right now, the two streets cross, and those who are turning left cannot do it safely. So I'd like us to study that if possible. Mr. Mayor, yeah, we could put in some temporary hash marks. I see that Madam Spencer was signaling here. Yes, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Godet, just to tell you that we will be making some changes at that place because we realize that it's a place that is dangerous. So before getting to Vanier Street, the two lanes are going to continue. I mean, if you've decided which lane you want to be in before you get to Vanier. That's why we decided to paint the lines as they are. I know that they've been kind of erased, but we don't want people to continue their bad habits because there'll be, after the repairs, there'll be changes. So we're looking into what can be done temporarily. Please, and thank you. Thank you, Councillor Leblanc. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you probably noticed, it's the special trash collection week, the spring, that is happening this week until Friday in the municipality, and also dangerous household products. That'll occur on the 3rd of June from 9 to 2 p.m. That's on Ruffin Street till the Operations Center. Secondly, as you were able to see, construction work has started on Melanson Road next to Dieppe Boulevard. So I would be asking residents of the area and elsewhere who drive on Melanson Road to slow down a little bit and to make sure they pay attention to pedestrians and the construction workers on the road. There'll be delays and a lot of traffic, but please stay safe and be patient. Thank you, Monsieur Leblanc. Councillor Cormier. I'd like to congratulate especially our young girl athletes because over the weekend, Carrefour de l'Acadie girls won gold in volleyball, and also a couple of our girls were in Kingston, Ontario for a ringette championship, and one of the teams, U12, won gold, U12A won silver, and U14 won silver. So the majority of these teams were girls from Dieppe, and I would like to congratulate them for this excellent activity, and hope they continue in this support. Thank you. Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to recall two things, as our Councillor LeBlanc just mentioned. Concerning speed, I'd like to remind people who use Gaspé Street, Thibaudeau Street, Cousteau to go to college, to go to school. You shouldn't forget that there are still school days during which children walk to school, and I noticed a couple of times an increase in speed in our neighborhood. So I want to remind people to respect the children, who respect everybody who walks on the sidewalks. I'd like to remind people, because spring is here, it's very nice, we want to walk, we want to get out. Our four-legged friends, I want to remind people, though, your little green bags for trash, it goes into the garbage can. The city does not have any staff to go pick up these little bags on the edge of the road, and I realize that there's an increase of the amount of those little things. So, Seal, as a respect for the city, please, it starts with the animal owners. Show a little bit of respect for residents and the staff of the municipality. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Thibaudeau. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one point that I would like to raise, that Monsieur Mélenchon should add on the list of the policemen of the RCMP. Champlain East Street, there was an accident there, and I think it's been quite a while that people have been saying there will be an accident there because people are going too fast. I mean, 50 kilometers an hour. And there are a lot of trucks driving by this area, and when they drive too fast, it makes a lot of noise and it bothers people living on the sides of the road. So we should remind people of the RCMP to patrol that area a little more, because people complain that they never see anybody from the RCMP. Secondly, I would like to thank all members of council for their collaboration over the last couple of years when I was deputy mayor. It's been a beautiful experience for me, and we worked very well. As Monsieur Alain said earlier, the mayor and myself, we worked really well together. So thank you very much for your collaboration, and I want to congratulate Councillor Godet for his appointment or nomination or election. Thank you. Madame Conseillère Arsenault. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to mention that from the 7th to 13th with International Nurse Week, I hope that it was a beautiful week. And the month of May is Oriental Heritage, Asian Heritage Week. So it was the flag raising at the Moncton, and my colleague Ted Godek went there as representative of the city of Dieppe. And I went there because I'm part of MAGMA, and it was a nice celebration. This week is the National Public Works Week from the 21st to the 27th of May. The theme is Public Works Unites Us, and they have dates to have open doors at the Aquatic Center the 23rd of May, which is today, and it goes till 7, so that's over now. Wednesday, 24th of May is open doors in the Operations Center on Ruffin Street from 9 in the morning to 7 p.m. And Thursday, the 25th of May, is go see the tower on Amiro Street from 4 to 7 p.m. So these are interesting things to see. Also, Emmanuel Chapados from the Cultural Arts and Center of Dieppe. There was a press release to talk about Marie Humer, the Dieppe artist, because she is setting up a work of art with 30 classes of our Francophone students of Memram Cup and Dieppe. And this piece of work will be a very imposing piece of work of 15 feet high in the shape of a dandelion, and it's going to be in our region, in the Dieppe Trail. It's going to be spectacular, and because it's in the shape of a dandelion, I think that's amazing, because it's a very resilient plant that is very nice, much beauty. And even if there's some people who don't like it, I think I like them. I mean, we have the leaves can be used as a salad. 8th of June is World Oceans Day. We have to protect our oceans. You can have more information at www.worldoceansday.ca. And today is the 46th anniversary of Arthur Beaujois. It's the 23rd of May, so we wish him good health. Sacerdotal anniversary. And I must say that the dandelion bouquets of dandelion flowers, it was one of the favorite bouquets received by our daughters. So, Councillor Alain, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Request for information and 2 announcements and 1 comment. So the first one is on the RCMP. There are 2 or 3 people from Dieppe who called me. I talked to the city manager earlier concerning the industrial park. There are people who have been doing not nice things in that area, so I'd like the RCMP to go check it out. New construction, so to make sure that they're safe, so that their tools don't get stolen. The RCMP could look into that. It would be nice. Thank you. Second thing, the announcements for regional games of Acadie taking place here in Dieppe. Athletics, Sunday, Anna Malenfant School, the 28th of May. There are going to be a lot of youth there. We're going to try to place themselves for Acadie Games. Last week, you participated, so I want to thank you for, on behalf of Municipal Council. We see people who see a city that is moving forward. So I want to thank people from Wingate for having chosen the Dieppe Trail to do business. We were there that day, and it's a beautiful building, and it's good for development. And to people, Mayor talked about different things that we've started development, and for me the most important one is the intergenerational trail. And Mr. Mayor, you were very transparent up to now on this file, so I congratulate you for having done this. And if people have questions, they should call us. We have a lot of information that's available, and I believe that council, the staff, are working diligently to develop this project. So I think that everybody should have the information. So, Mr. Mayor, continue the beautiful work. It's a beautiful infrastructure for sports, and that's going to be good for our downtown. And it's a good balance between business, leisure, sports, etc. So very nice work. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's teamwork. And the different teams that I worked with, I believe that the city of Dieppe is doing well because of the people who've contributed. And it's not just people around Municipal Hall, or Municipal Council, but it's the citizens also who are getting involved on a daily basis in different associations and committees. And it made me think about Councillor Cormier, who was talking about our young girls in Ringette. And I mean, it's something that we see in all types of activities, cultural, sports, everywhere in our municipality. And it brings me to say that mens sana in corpore sano, healthy mind in a healthy body. This is what we want to develop here in Dieppe. So that being said, have a good evening.